Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to this webinar on process safety as part of SAFETYPRO EXPO, which is the first virtual exhibition on health and safety organized by Eventage Pakistan, PK. As you are aware of that, SGS is the world leading inspection, verification, testing, and consultancy services company. And on behalf of SGS, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Zahid Hussain, working with SGS Gulf Limited as senior HSE consultant and process safety team lead. Our today's topic is process safety. So if you would have any question, we would be glad to answer you. Let's start about our topic today, process safety. So first, I would like to introduce my company, SGS. As you are all familiar with this world-known company, as we are the world-leading inspection, verification, and testing services company. Our presence is almost all over the countries in the globe. Actually, SGS started in 1878, initially in the field of green inspection, and then later on we entered in oil and gas industry, civil infrastructure industry, and other, you can say, different type of the multiple services line. And from 1878, I grew up, and now we are present almost all over the continent. This is SGS presence on the globe in America, Europe, Africa, Middle East, and Asia, Asia Pacific. And we have almost more than 94,000 employees working with us, and we have our 2,600 plus offices and laboratories. So our today's topic is our SGS consulting services in health and safety and environment, specifically with respect to process safety. In SGS, we have the hundreds of employees who integrates the HSE team within the environment and industrial division in different countries in SGS, covering all aspects of environment requirement, occupational health and safety requirements, industrial hygiene, machinery safety, construction safety, and process safety. So focusing on the process safety expertise, the senior experts capable of delivering the services are located on the map. So we'll start from process safety. So what is process safety? Basically, in SGS, we provide these services in the field of process operations to prevent and mitigate the risks resulting from the operation of the industries where production, handling, storage, and disposal of the hazardous substances take place. And our services cover overall life cycle of the project, and starting from the, you can say, conceptual design, feed, detail engineering design, and construction, operational, and decommissioning phase. So overall process safety services cover the entire life cycle of the project. So entire life cycle of the project, so we have to cover entire life cycle of the safety also. So it's called process safety. And basically our services are focused on the protection of processes, the employees, and the population living close to the process plants or industrial areas, that we have to take into account also that safety of the society is also considered while performing the services of the process safety. So this is overall, you can say, a brief of the process safety, which cover the process protection, public protection, and worker protection. Just like we start from process hazard analysis, in process safety. And for public and worker safety, we have to perform the quantitative risk assessment and occupational health and safety services. And there are other, you can say, multiple type of studies are also involved, just like safety cases, emergency response management system, emergency response plans, and consultancy and other services, ethics zoning, hazardous area classification, etc. So summary of the services in process safety studies are, first, as I discussed, is PHA, process hazard analysis. That's like hazard safety studies. And then risk assessment, it involves qualitative risk assessment or quantitative risk assessment, just like QRA, quantitative risk assessment, IR, individual risk, alarm as low as reasonable practicable. So we have to perform the risk assessment in both ways, either qualitative or quantitative. And then safety reports are analysis report, safety management studies, and safety trainings, etc. And then functional safety, it contains cell assessment study. So basically, safety integrity level study, and spill, dispersion, fire, and explosion modeling, hazardous area classification, just like ethics, and DSER classification and verification for hazardous gases and vapors, emergency planning, emergency response plan preparation, and obviously accident and incident investigations. Is overall services of loss prevention and process safety consultancy, as we are providing from PHA analysis to risk assessment, and then miscellaneous consultancy services. So we will describe in detail one by one in our today's session. So first, PHA, process hazard analysis. So what is PHA? Basically, a process plants, you are familiar that it comprises of many complex systems and components such as instrumentation, controls, safety devices, etc. So all these components, if they are combined together and work effectively, it means your system is sufficient and you are eliminating the hazard. But in ideal case, if it's ideal case, but in actual scenario, that if such type of component, if they deviate from their intended purpose or design intent, that are maybe due to malfunction or human error during the normal operation or plant startup or plant shutdown. So in this case, it can cause, or it can be the reason of the potential hazards or risks. So therefore, it is the need to investigate that how the plant respond in such scenarios, if these main component of the plant or system, if the malfunction or if any human error occur, then what could be the hazards or risks involved. So at the initial stage of the operation of the plant, or even before that during design stage, then we perform the PHA analysis, process hazard analysis, and we have to check either the sufficient controls and safety features are already in place, or some additional control measures are required as per the international best practices, codes and standards, and SGS standard protocols. So in PHA analysis, we perform hazard identification, hazard study, hazard and operability analysis. Hazard basically is operational hazard related activity, structured what if analysis, then fault tree analysis, failure mode and effect analysis, root cause analysis, and layer of protection analysis. It's a LUPA, just like it's a part of skill assessment study. Now, as I explained that, what is this basically PHA analysis study? Basically, is a structured brainstorming technique involving a team of experts covering all aspects of the operation and maintenance, instrumentation, safety, etc., of the overall process of the plant. Either it's in the field stage, or it's in detailed design stage, or construction stage, or commissioning, startup, or normal operation. So when it is to be performed, as explained, it has to be performed throughout life cycle of the project, from feasibility and front-end engineering design, and then detailed engineering design, construction, commissioning, startup stage, and normal operation of the plant. So why it is to be performed, the PHA analysis or process hazard analysis study? Basically, it is to be performed to find the deviation from design intention, to identify the hazard, so that we may know that all the appropriate safeguards are already in place. So there are normal steps how we perform these PHA analysis study. Basically, as a standard protocol, we have to collect all the available information, just like all data, piping and instrument diagrams, PFDs, process data sheets, process equipment data sheets, and operating and design process parameters related to all the information. And then we divide the overall facility into nodes or system or function on function basis. Then we have to describe the design intent, including process parameters for each of the node, and based on each node and each process parameter, then we identify all possible causes of the deviation and their consequences. Based on those deviation and consequences, we have to recommend some control measures in addition to the existing controls are already in place to prevent the undesired consequences. And next is quantitative risk assessment study. Based on the PHA analysis, basically normally in PHA analysis, we perform all the qualitative risk assessment techniques. After adopting the qualitative risk assessment technique, we have to perform the quantitative risk assessment study. Basically, detailed quantitative risk assessment study is carried out to guarantee that the population, environment, and facilities protection with the homogeneous criteria is being ensured. So SGS provide the services of QRA studies, just like quantitative risk assessment studies, by professional use of the state-of-the-art software tools recommended by clients, or if those are not specified from client side, then SGS proposed by itself. And calculation according to the most recognized guidelines and methodologies as approved from client, and then adoption of the local requirements and guidelines as well. And if those guidelines are also acceptable to client, that we have to adopt them. Then based on the initial calculation, we perform the consequence modeling and then frequency estimation according to the prestigious database, just like Yellow Book or other available techniques, available, you can say, record of the incidents or accident on-site the client premises if they are maintaining their own database, that we have to adopt it. Otherwise, applicable international best practices we have to follow. Then based on the consequence modeling and frequency estimation, we calculate the individual risk, either is individual risk per annum, or then we have to calculate the societal risk. Basically, societal risk cover the population residing, living beside the considered plants or facilities. If there is a, you can say, community area nearby the facility or plant, operational plant, that we have to also consider while performing the quantitative risk assessment, and we have to check what are the consequences of any cases reaching there and what would be the risk level. Either is acceptable or is not acceptable. If it's beyond the acceptable level, then we have to propose some additional control measures to protect the society living nearby the concerned plant. And then we have to, obviously, once we calculate the individual risk controls or societal risk control, then we have to make a comparison with the acceptability criteria as I explained. And after that, we have to perform the risk reduction technique is called alarm, as low as reasonably practicable. So we have to perform either a desktop study or another brainstorming session for alarm demonstration, and then we have to reconsider all the risks which were initially identified as a high risk as per the criteria. Either those are now, after implementing the additional control measures, are lying in the low risk or acceptable region, then we can make the final decision for the adoption of the control measures as per the recommendations. So similar to PHA, normally these questions are asked that when we have to perform the quantitative risk assessment study, and basically what is the quantitative risk assessment study? As explained, that is a method used to quantify the risk generated by any industry in case of loss of the containment of hazardous substances. And this study is also performed during all phases of the plant or project life cycle, just like feed stage, detailed design engineering stage. And if the plant is in operation, it is recommended by some client that after every 5 years that they have to redo this quantitative risk assessment study, because as a standard practice, as industrial norms, normally modifications or you can say developments are being happen at each plant. So that's why detailed PHA analysis and quantitative risk assessment studies are again performed after every 5 years of the previously conducted study to check if there is any revamping or modification of the facility has been done, then at least safety should not be compromised. So again, this PHA cycle is performed. And then why we perform this quantitative risk assessment study? Now to check the compatibility of the facility with the land use planning as per the local legislations or restrictions. And then we have to focus on the safety of the society living beside the concerned plant also. This is a brief methodology that how quantitative risk assessment is performed. As initially I explained, these are the basic steps. That first we have to collect the available data, just like PNIDs, PFDs, process data sheets, material safety data sheets of the inventory, and then operational frequencies, plot plan. Based on the all available data, then we have to list, analyze, and select the equipment, inventory, and substances. We have to mark the inventory, and based on the inventory analysis or inventory calculation, we have to identify the scenarios, and then we have to estimate the consequences and frequencies, just like failure frequencies for each scenario. And then we have to perform the risk calculation, either it should be individual risk or societal risk, and then we have to check the compatibility with the criteria and defined by the as compared to local legislation, and also in line with the client standard procedures or guidelines. This is basically one case study of risk assessment performed by SGS. So I'm not going in detail, just to show you about our services. And next is the safety cases, safety reports, just like control of major accidental hazard analysis. Basically, this Control of major accidental hazard directives were established and developed in Europe after the disaster of SAFETYPRO, which took place in 1976. The plant was located almost 200 kilometers north of the Milan city in Italy, and they were storing a huge quantity of the flammable hazardous material, and this incident took place. After that incident, then government established some guidelines and directives, and based on those directives, now it's applicable now all over the globe, that wherever there is a storing or handling of the large quantity of hazardous material, then we have to perform this control of major accidental hazard analysis study in detail, considering the amount of the stored hazardous material. And during performing of this COMA study, if it is applicable, then SGS or consultant has to notify, or even client has to notify to the competent authority about the storage of hazardous material. And then major accident prevention policy is to be adopted and developed, and on-site emergency plan are to be developed, and then comprehensive safety reports are also developed. So for this comprehensive safety report, we are now developing nowadays COMA study report. So basically, COMA comprises of the PHA, quantitative risk assessment study, focusing only the major hazards, the hazards identified during process hazard analysis, and then I have to perform the alert and bow tie analysis of those major accidental hazards, and then we have to define the internal audit protocol, and if applicable, then we have to perform the internal audits, and then on-site personal training. So SGS is providing all these services for control of major accidental hazards. So same like that when this COMA study or safety case study is to be performed, and basically what it is and then why it is to be performed is the same, that is a method used to quantify the risk generated by industry in case of loss of containment of hazardous substances, considering the major accident hazards, and normally here we consider the loss of containment of hazardous material. And when COMA is to be performed, basically depend upon the local legislation or as per the client standard procedures or guidelines. Just like here in UAE, we are performing the COMA study of each plant after every 5 years. So after 5-year interval, it is mandatory that we have to redo the detailed assessment of all identified major hazards. And how we have to perform this control of major accidental hazards is a same technique, that first we have to collect the available information, just like material data sheets and overall frequency of the operation, plot plans, procedures, and then describe and list out the equipment, inventories, substances, identify the scenarios, then consequence estimations, risk assessment, safeguard implementation, demonstration, and then we have to perform the allowed technique, allowed demonstration. Then elaborate procedure for safety management system, safety planning, and obviously training of the personnel on site. Basically, it's one case study performed by SGS, a safety report for oil depot. Actually, we are providing the services in different countries. So this is one case study which SGS has provided for the development of the safety reports, mainly considering the control of major accidental hazard scenarios for bulk liquid storage terminal. And our services included notification to the authorities and then complete safety report, including hazard analysis, risk analysis with, you can say, loss of containment, explosions, fire risk assessment, and then overall alarm demonstration. And then we developed emergency response plan for this site and provided the training to their personnel. So next is functional safety study based on IEC 61511 or ISA 84. Functional safety is focused on the specification, design, installation, operation, and maintenance of the safety instrumented system. So once we perform this functional safety of a plant, then confidently we can say that we are able to maintain the process in a safe way. And because during this study, we estimate in detail the overall safety integrity level of the instrumented system, overall instrumentation of the plant. So relevant standards are applicable are IEC 61508 or IEC 61511, ISA 84, and if the locally applicable standards are developed by client or by the local legislation, that we have to adopt it also. So functional safety analysis, we initially perform hazard analysis, and based on that, we calculate failure mode and effect analysis, faulty analysis, layer of protection analysis, and then we are providing the services for design review of safety instrumented functions and overall safety in instrumented systems like SAFE and SIS, allocation of the safety integrity level based on the risk graph or other techniques as approved by client, and then again personal training. So when these normally safety instrumented function related studies are performed during design stage of the project of the plant, but during the life cycle of the plant or in operational phases of the plant, sales studies also performed, as I explained, that due to the modification, revamping, or if there is any changes in the system, if any new technology is adopted during operation phase of the plant, then again, just like COMA, so safety instrumented or functional safety studies are also again performed for all operational facilities, normally with an interval of 5 years, but it varies from client to client as per their applicable procedures or standards. Next is spill, dispersion, fire, and explosion modeling. And SGS is also providing the services for dispersion analysis, fire and explosion modeling studies, and spill management related consultancy studies. Normally, it happens that when manipulating hazardous material, any loss of the containment in your process can lead to obviously disaster consequences. for worker, population, environment, and overall facilities due to the spillage. If gaseous clouds are developed or fire or explosion happen, then obviously it would lead to a big disastrous event. That's why to prevent and to ensure that all the control measures, appropriate control measures, safety features are already installed, then we have to perform dispersion study and fire and explosion risk assessment study or modeling studies. So in this spill, dispersion, fire, and explosion modeling, we provide the services while calculating the release rate from atmospheric or pressurized vessel or containers, then consequences of pool fire for any liquid or liquefied gases, dispersion of the flammable or toxic gases, and gas cloud explosion or bursting of pressure vessels, and dispersion in building emissions from scrubbers or any other ventilation system. Just like quantitative assessment study, somehow we are performing all these scenarios while calculating the consequences or consequence analysis during QRA if an individual fire risk assessment or gas dispersion study or spill management consultancy is required, that we are also providing our services. Just like explained in this slide, so we are providing the services in a way that hazardous area perform the hazardous area classification or attest engineering consultancy, on-site inspection of the X-rated equipment, hazardous area classification for existing plants, third-party ethics audit, X-rated equipment certification, and explosion risk assessment, just like explosion protection document, are then training for all these subjects, and then personal competency certification issue. SGS is providing all these services. If you are confused about these tags, what's A1, A4, actually we have segregated in a way that from A1 to A6, our EHS division is providing the services, like for hazardous area classification in design stage, and then hazardous area classification for existing plant, or explosion risk assessment, explosion protection document, fire and explosion engineering consultancy, third-party fire and explosion audit, site surveys, and fire and explosion related trainings. In SGS, we are providing an EHS division, and on-site inspection of the X-rated equipment is provided by our industrial team, and the certification of the X-rated equipment or personal competency training certificates are issued by our CBT. It's a one case study performed by SGS for one of the biggest plants in Europe, LNG terminal. They have performed the dispersion modeling, you can say overall explosion risk analysis. Next is emergency planning and emergency response. Obviously, based on the PHA analysis, further quantitative risk assessment studies, or control of major accidental hazard scenarios, if we consider that all the control measures are appropriately in place and are in accurate function, But still, if in case of any emergency, the main priority, the main focus is to protect the human life, and that's why we develop, we make a plan for emergency scenarios. That first, how we have to protect our facility, how we have to protect our personnel worker there at the facility, and how we have to protect the overall society from any type of risk or hazardous event. So for emergency planning and emergency response, so several standards and regulations require the elaboration and implementation of a document regarding emergency organization in case of any accident or incident resulting from the handling of the hazardous substances. It could be toxic gases releases, flammable material spillage. If it's flammable gases are there, then the cloud development or explosion scenarios. So we are providing the services for identifying the risk, evaluating the risk, and then we have to perform the operability and effectiveness of the firefighting system, training the personnel, and preparing that how to deal with the emergency scenarios in case of any emergency situation. So we are providing the services for preparation of on-site emergency plan, development of the process-specific procedures, fire and explosion analysis, theoretical and practical on-site trainings, SGS is providing also, and then assistance in planning, controlling, and evaluating emergency drills, then fire engineering audit and review, and evacuation routes and emergency refuge plans, and then emergency alarm audibility. So in case of any emergency, what are the requirements are there? So SGS is providing all type of the services. And then if any accident or incident happen, so for accident and incident investigation, SGS is also providing these services. So our expert can deploy at the plant and at, you can say, with a short notice to assist the client for investigation of the cause of any type of accident, from material damage or environmental releases issues, pollution, and if there is personal injury or fatalities. So based on the client defined procedures and protocol, we are providing the services for the investigation of the incident and accident if it happened in any of the facility. So SGS team work together with multidisciplinary team in the organization, and then with the client organization, then collection of overall management of the evidences for accident, incident, and related scenarios, and pictures and video recording if it is allowed from the client at the premises, and then explosion, fire, toxic dispersion related simulations. Then SGS perform this human evaluation with interviews, the personnel at site. Then root cause analysis is performed for accident and incident investigation, and obviously reporting and recommendation as per the detailed investigation. Then lesson learned, obviously SGS also shares some lesson learned, and also we check the previously occurred accident or incident at the any facility or client premises. Then but SGS is also providing the services for overall procedural guidelines improvement and management of change and training related services. So this is all for process safety. As yesterday it was explained by Dr. Mehboob Ali about our health and safety consultancies, and here are some environment related services, environmental consultancies. So these are our major clients. We are working with them. So it's all from my side. You are most welcome if you have any question.
Zaid, there is a question that please explain fire engineering audit. So which technical standards we have followed for fire engineering audits?
So for fire engineering audits, actually it varies from client to client, but normally as per the best internationally acceptable, you can say standards are NFPA, and we also consider check if there is any information provided in API standards, and obviously in client guidelines and client procedures or local legislations also. So it varies from country to country, but internationally acceptable procedures and standards are from NFPA.
There is another question. What is the best time to carry out the hazard? As there is a pre-construction or during the operation phase?
Oh, as I explained, for hazard, actually is a PHA, process hazard analysis. This hazard is to be performed during all phases of the project life cycle, from conceptual design, field stage, detailed design engineering stage, and during operational also. So normally it happens that for hazard identification is the best practices that brainstorming session is to be organized during the conceptual design of the project or early stage of the design.
So there is another question. Can we share the training material through email?
Can we share the training material through email? That that depend upon the SGS or privacy that we have to check.
Okay. Another question is, what is the meaning of fire engineering audits? So what is generated as a result of it?
No, fire engineering audits mean normally it happens that if you are performing any type of audit at a facility, you are focusing on the visual inspections. So fire engineering audits mean that you have to verify the design is actual implementation at site and overall operability, just like if firefighting system is in an appropriate function or not. The design of the firefighting system and detection system.
So in some of the countries, like UAE, there's a civil defense that require a fire engineering audit to be done before the approval of engineering design. So in those cases, that is a mandatory requirement from the regulator. So in that case, for example, we do the audits, we'll come back with some of the recommendations that need to be the project owner or a construction company, they have to follow before they get approval from the civil defense. There is another question, describe ATEX DSEAR.
No, DSEAR basically is not a specific word, but is you can say is a hazardous area classification for the area which containing the flammable and hazardous material in a large quantity, which could cause a huge loss of containment or flammable scenario or explosion scenarios.
There is another question. Can SGS support in fire load analysis?
Fire load analysis.
Yeah.
This is the question. Yeah.
Yes,
that
yes.
we can. That this is a fire engineering.
So answer is yes, we can do.
Yes. The answer is yes.
Yes. Yeah, so there is another question, where is the office location for Islamabad? So, I mean, that is available on our SGS website. If you go into the tab for office locations, you can find out all the office locations for SGS Pakistan. Or alternatively, you can contact our head office in Karachi or Lahore. They can give you the contact detail for our Islamabad office. There is another question. Please describe FMEA.
FMDA. FMEA.
EA.
FMEA is basically
Yes.
failure mode, failure mode effect analysis.
Okay. There is another question. Is there any testing facility or laboratory to test PP equipments according to NFP, IEEE, and ECT?
Test of the PPEs. Am I right? This is the question.
Yeah. Yeah.
As per
Yes,
the
testing of
applicable.
PP according to NFP.
That we have to check from our affiliates. But normally,
Yeah.
but this is the standard audits and surveys we are performing. But if there is a specific requirement that we can, you can say, engage our affiliate.
You can contact to our local office so they can find out, I mean, which of our office is doing the testing of PPs.
Yes.
There are one or two more questions. They are asking to share the presentation. So, I mean, we can share with the organizer. So
Right.
then they can forward to the participants.
Okay. Okay. Thank you all. Thanks for your participation and your valuable time from your this heavy assignments. Really appreciated for your participation.